Hey guys, welcome to the live stream. Normally we do it on Saturday, but I got called in for a work I have to do on this Saturday, so I couldn't do it Saturday. And then today we're going to do it at 11. I had to work overtime today. I worked the graveyard shift. They ended up making me stay for like another 4 hours because some people called in sick. So I'm sorry we were late today. I worked hard to get it. We analyzed everything with the State of the Union address. That's what we want to talk about today. So we felt like we still wanted to come live with it. And Dave, of course, is at his house today. He was going to come up here, but he didn't. Dave, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. Am I up?
You are up, man.
All right. I see myself tiny. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Sorry that you got stuck like that.
Now, it comes with this job that I have that you get stuck sometimes, and it's okay. But normally you'd get stuck after a regular shift in the daytime. But it's a little bit different after staying up all night. I had a busy night, and then they keep you for 4 hours in the morning, and it's like 95 degrees out there. So it was.
Well, this is a follow-on effect, as the British would call it. This is an after effect of Biden going on TV the other night. He promises everything for free, and people go, why should I go to work?
That's right.
Jason will cover me. He's a conservative.
There you go. I'm not going to call in sick. It's Friday, right? So people like to call in sick on Fridays, and
they
it's
want to get
frustrating.
an early start on doing nothing.
Say it again.
They want to get an early start on doing nothing.
I know, right? They want
to hit the ground running on the couch.
On relaxing,
hit the
right?
couch running, yeah.
Running the air conditioning. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. I say we got the State of the Union address happened on, was that Wednesday, right?
Yeah, although they're being careful not to call it the State of the Union address for some reason.
I'm not sure why.
I don't. Maybe it has something to do with they're hoping that if it tanks a little bit, that he can then say, "Oh, it was postponed. This was just an address to both houses of Congress."
Mm-hmm. His first address to both houses of Congress,
yeah.
right?
Are we side by side in your thing? So it's the view that I'm seeing. Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
Sorry
we're side
that.
by side, and actually, you're a little bit off center. I'm going to go ahead and I can.
Yeah,
move.
I am an off center type guy.
I'm going to move you a little bit here. 1 second.
Yeah,
I
can move myself a little bit.
And
How's
then,
that? I'm just a little more
there
comfortable.
you go. I got you.
I try to showcase my guitar.
Yeah, it looks good over there. Well, you can't see it in the shot here. Let me bring up your shot. Yeah, is it heavy holding it like that?
Oh yeah, man, this thing's.
That's the tiniest guitar. That's the tiniest guitar I've ever seen.
People don't know how big I am. I'm enormous.
I thought it was just your head that was so big.
It's just my head mostly.
Let me go back.
I had a hat in the picture earlier. It was, and I don't know where it went. I threw it away somewhere. But trying to find a hat that'll fit my noggin.
Yeah.
It's not been an easy thing.
That's funny. Someone just mentioned.
Someone
just commented. The State of the Union implies.
But they can always call back now if he wants to make another run at the State of the Union. But
right.
I think it went okay for him, so I don't think he's worried about it now.
No, right off the top, besides the fact that it was pretty boring, I thought that he didn't flub as much as I was expecting to. He was pretty. He went over his speech a lot, and he was on it for Joe Biden.
Yeah, it's weird. He seems to flub the words that he's lying on. Like when he goes, institutional racism, he can't quite pronounce, systemic racism. Systemic racism has 3 pretty regular syllables in it, but he can only ever hit 2 of them. Stemic or system racism, and then he said something else about a central problem, and he called it a center problem. And when he's doing the stuff that's not coming from him organically, but coming from what he's supposed to be saying in order to keep the left side of their party happy, or whatever the thinking is, those are the things he seems to flub most on. But I don't know if anybody else noticed this, that sometimes he just seems like he's trying to emote himself right into the hearts of Americans. It's like he's trying to emote through all the layers of nonsense that he knows that we know he's been forced to say in order to get this job.
That's right.
He keeps trying to kind of emote through it by looking at the camera and kind of like, it's just you and me. It's just government's. It's not even a thing. It's just you and me. There's no government.
He would build sometimes. He would get a clap, and then he would come with a big build where a good orator, a good reader of the crowd would know, here comes the big applause, but he would build up and then to nothing. And then he would say something else and everybody start clapping, and he'd be like, oh, that wasn't the place they were supposed to clap. Like, he's not very good at speaking. We all know that. And he wasn't.
And he had a sort of, he had a shtick. Like, if Gene Simmons was doing hard rock his whole life and suddenly he got a really good gig replacing Barry Manilow in Las Vegas, hey, man, it's a good gig. I guess I don't have to tour anymore, but I got to do like mellow songs. I got to do lounge music. It would sit awkwardly. And Joe Biden isn't this guy he's portraying himself as. And so he'll talk about the Green New Deal, but then he'll go, it's jobs, it's jobs, it's jobs,
Right.
And he just is like, no, really, we can make windmills in the United States, not in Beijing, as if anything's made in Beijing.
Right.
But,
well, he had the worst transition ever, right? I made this note after watching it. He was talking about the pandemic caused 2 million women to have to drop out of the workforce to care for someone like an elderly parent or someone who needed help. And then he goes, and the most important word, we forget about it when talking about the climate crisis, is jobs. And I was like, wait, you were just talking about the pandemic killing 2 million jobs for women, and then you just the worst transition ever. And there was a couple things like that where you were like, wait, I thought we were just talking about that.
He's really trying to get us to start calling him Lunchbox Joe again.
Oh, he's working hard at that.
But, he did hit it pretty hard when he was, calling up for unions. But what he doesn't realize is that most of the working classes moved away from the union model.
That's right.
And, he's trying to, he goes, I know my working guys are out there. All I got to do is figure out where 1961 is. Oh, there they are.
Yeah. Well, he said, here's one of the funniest quotes of the night. He goes, he's talking about jobs and how technology is moving on, and we got to train the workers today for these new jobs. And he says, some of you at home are wondering if these jobs are for you. So many of the folks I grew up with feel left behind. And I'm like, Joe, the people you grew up with are dead. Or they're retired. What are you talking about? They're not
left behind in the graveyard.
Are you kidding me? Left behind? Are they going to be the guys that are at the steel mill now working on the windmills that you're talking about doing in Pittsburgh or wherever you said?
Well, Joe just got a new job. I don't see why other 78-year-olds shouldn't be trying for new careers.
Maybe, yeah, I know, right?
Learn to code, you slackers.
The folks I grew up with. And then he's like, I want to speak directly to you. And he says that. He goes, I want to speak directly to you. And then he goes, because if you think about it, that's most of the people are worried about. Can I fit in? I was like, where was the part you were going to tell us something directly to you? Can I speak directly to you? And he's like, because that's the people we're talking about, And he just like looks around. And so there was a lot of things like that were just
like you in your last video. I want to speak directly to you.
But I did after that. I actually did speak directly to people after that. He didn't, and it just made me laugh.
By the way, that was a really good video. Congratulations on that. If any of you, if there's anybody listening to that's missed that video, go pick up on it. It's a really good one.
Yeah, anyway. I got a lot of love on it, but the views, as we can talk about for a second, our views are going down compared to where they were, and there's some funny things happening with our analytics on YouTube that doesn't make any sense. We lose lose viewers on one day where we put out a video. The next day we gain 50 viewers, and there was no video. And why would people be all of a sudden?
We'll use viewers on a day where there isn't a video.
Or we gain viewers on a day there isn't a video, and it doesn't make any sense. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I think we got to.
Maybe that's a counting mechanism. YouTube is all over the world on multiple servers, and there's weird counting errors that come in. But I don't know. I think that people are just fleeing YouTube. I don't know. We all have our theories.
Yeah, fleeing YouTube, and then people are frustrated and.
Yeah,
and
but
which
I'm now averaging just about half the views that I was averaging in October. So
right.
I was averaging 50,000 views a video, and now so there's sometimes there'd be 30,000 views or something, and a lot of times it'd be 80,000, 90,000, whatever. So but I averaged them out, I think, in like September, and it had been going that way pretty much through the summer and the
Hmm.
spring. And my videos were averaging about 50,000, and now my average is about 25,000. So I've basically just like that, after the end of four years of work, you're you go down to half of your importance.
That's
It
right.
it it takes a little getting used to.
That's
But
right.
now, I'm like, wow, awesome! I got 20,000 views. I'm
Yeah.
cool. Just don't look at my old stuff.
No, it's disheartening, but at the same time, I think it's a little bit of an ebb and flow as well. You know, after the
Right.
election, of course, there was going to be some die down after Trump didn't win, because there's going to be plenty on our side of going like, man, you know what? I got to take a break. I fought my butt off. I argued. I tried hard. I paid attention, and then Trump
Right.
lost, and
There's a real sense of pessimism right now.
that's true.
There,
And I
there's a
feel it
lot of
sometimes. I feel it
pessimism.
sometimes too. I mean, it's easy to look at. I mean, look at this speech. The things he's talking about, the spending,
Yeah.
$6 trillion or so he's talking about, and he's saying, two times he said last night, once in a generation investment on two different things.
Yes.
So,
Oh,
that,
and everything. It's like the American this act, the
mhm.
American that act. And so I mean, we got all kinds of the American Families Plan, which also gives 12 weeks of paid leave a year to
for ev-
families. Right, 12 weeks of, so he wants everyone to take 3 months off a year on a regular basis, and all of that's going to be paid by raising the taxes on rich people. That's his plan. He says that he won't raise taxes on anybody making over 400,000, which is not going to be our problem anytime soon.
I know,
But
but it's not true, right?
but it's
Because he wants to get rid of the
that
Trump,
much money isn't there.
like he wants to get rid of the Trump tax cuts, right? So those
Yes.
tax cuts, they always say that was just the rich that got them, but that's not true. But that's their narrative. So that anything they take away from that, they say, oh, that was the rich. And then you got to look at it. They always lump in the rich with corporations, right?
Yes.
But who pays the taxes for the corporations, right? If I make a product, let's say, I make this water bottle, right, and I sell it, and then you come in as the government and tell me, hey, you have to pay me more taxes on selling this bottle of water, then that just goes more in my overhead, and I have to take consideration. I might have to cut some wages, cut some employees. I might have to raise the price, and some of my shareholders, if it's a publicly traded company, might get mad about me saying, hey, you're not making as much money. So ultimately, we're paying for that. It's not just some rich guys going like, oh, we'll just pay more and not make as much money anymore. No, they're still going to make their money. They're just going to take it out of the consumer's pocket and some of the workers' pocket.
Right. And I have always felt like a corporation, I don't understand why it's taxed, because everything they sell, they're taxed. Everything all the stuff that they buy to build their product, they're taxed on. All of the buildings that they put up, the way that they grow. I stopped in at this great big trucking manufacturer once, and just there was like 200 tractor trailers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of those have to be bought, and all of those were American made. They all have to be made in America, and all the people that go to the work and are building those trailers, as well as the people who later service them and drive them, they're all getting paid, and they're paying taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who's paying them, he's paying taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And for every bit of profit they make as a company, they get taxes. So why
Right.
they pay taxes? So why charge them also as a corporation? So all the people, all the profits, and all the levels, all of their workers, and all of the carry-on effect workers from what they're doing, taxing all the way. Not to mention their property taxes.
But right.
So
death tax he wants to bring back, and
yeah. So corporate taxes, just to say like the corporation itself is an entity, that's weird. It keeps good people from forming corporations.
right. No, that's a good point. Lone Trout wrote, "Thanks for making my day whenever you guys post. Any thought on hyperinflation around the corner with the massive Biden spending?" That's a good question. I know I listened to Glenn Beck one morning,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking a lot about that. And he's more of a doomsayer kind of guy. But we if we print $6 trillion off and just and print that money, there's a good chance. I mean, we're pushing the limit at where we're at now. We're at what, 28 trillion in debt. We're pushing. We've been pushing the limit for a while now, and I don't know when that's
And
coming, but there's
haven't
a
we added
massive correction coming.
haven't we added something like 7 trillion more just since in the last year?
Well, yeah,
In,
because yeah, exactly. Something like that. Because we did all the COVID
right,
relief
with
packages.
the COVID relief and with the relief packages that are almost certain to pass. So if you put all those things together, that's, in response to a pandemic that only kills people who were going to die within a year or two anyway, that were already
right.
out of the workforce, that weren't even going into stores or bars or anything like that. We smashed the economy to the extent that we needed to borrow $7 trillion. Where are we borrowing that from?
Exactly.
Who holds our debt?
That's
China.
Right. China, our grandchildren.
Yeah, I mean,
it's bad.
But if what we're borrowing it, who are we borrowing it from?
Right. Of the future.
Yeah, we're building it all to our grandkids.
Right.
And this is just completely immoral.
Well, check this out. So Biden at the speech took credit for creating 1.3 million jobs in his first 100 days, the most on record, he said. And it was because of the moves he made in that first $1.9 trillion package that got passed, right? But all the governors had to do of these states was quit the shutdowns, and millions of jobs would come back. That's all they had to do. They didn't have to make any kind of policy. All they had to do was quit the shutdowns. And the secret is they killed the economy, and for them to say that they're now the ones building it back up is fake. It's a lie.
But they like to be in that position because they believe that government is a top-down. It's like Biden said the other day. He did say, what was the exact quote? It was in that thing I was going to show you, but it was we the people are the government.
Mm-hmm.
We the people are so they have this idea that really it truly is the people that are government, as opposed to it's about 400 people who are pretending to be pretending to represent the people, and
right.
usually are representing a small number of the people, or but as if it's so responsive. Government is so responsive, whatever the will of the people is. As soon as that changes, government immediately reflects that. Well, we know that's not true. Look how long Nancy Pelosi's been sitting there. They get in and you can't get them out.
That's right.
And their major donors keep them in place because it's working for them. So it's not that but their feeling is that everything should come from the top down, right?
Well, he said trickle down economics. These billionaires are not letting it trickle down. We have to build this from the ground up. I mean,
Except
it's like
government.
It's like we elected Bernie Sanders. It really is in a lot of ways. You did a video called "How Bernie Really Won" or something to that effect. You know what? I wrote it down up here. What was the name of that video?
How Bernie won while losing?
Yeah, Bernie won while losing. How Bernie set the stage for the shutdown. Okay, that was a video you did back after Bernie was okay. He's out of the picture now, and it's dead on in the sense that he moved that party so far left, and Biden pretended he's this moderate the whole time. But a lot of the stuff he's pushing now, he wants to. Let's go back because we're talking about jobs. Let me stay on something.
Yeah.
He said, independents, Democrats, and Republican economists all agree this will create millions of jobs, he says. But remember when Obama said, we're going to spend all this money and we're going to have these shovel-ready jobs. Yeah. And then they weren't shovel-ready. Why?
A year later, he says, well, I guess they weren't quite as shovel-ready as I thought.
Right. And the reason they're not shovel-ready is because if you say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to redo the power grid. it doesn't mean that these companies that are already doing these jobs are going to go, well, you know what? We're going to hire 400 people to start doing it. No, they get a government contract for $50 million and it lasts them for 10 years. The main guys get rich as everything because they're politically connected. So that's why their company got it. And then they do hire a few other people and train them and whatnot. And then there's a moderate thing with the jobs, but it's nowhere near what they say. And it's nowhere near worth the price tag.
Yeah, and they're thinking he's thinking he's going to be like Franklin Delano Roosevelt with that big thing that they did where they built dams and things like that. But it was a very different world back then. Most of the big projects are done by independent people now.
That's right.
I mean, we had a whole big infrastructure thing here in Altadena a couple of years ago, and there wasn't an Altadena city truck anywhere. It was all, so I mean, maybe those people have to, maybe there will be some hiring by those guys if bigger contracts come through. But the idea that, so I'm not opposed to building infrastructure, but I'm opposed to his idea that we have to build 500,000 charging stations. Did you hear him say that in his speech? Yeah. 500,000 charging stations. We can do this. We can own the electric car industry. Mm-hmm. That's just Green New Deal shit straight up.
That's right.
And then he's talking about there's no reason we can't build windmill blades here in America. We'll build them in America. Wait a minute. We don't want windmills. Windmills are bullshit. Let's talk about building some nuclear plants. That's the clean energy that everybody's just ignoring. That's sitting right there on the table.
Yeah. And that they keep ignoring that because it's not profitable, I think, for their friends. Because I'm a big believer in that crony capitalism is one of the biggest problems we have in America.
Yeah, you hit that pretty hard.
Because government, I mean, if the lobbying industry is $1 billion, $4 billion or $5 billion industry, what are those guys buying? They're buying contracts from the government. They're buying new laws to let us know, like the hands-free. When that first happened, the hands-free on the driving, I just imagine there was some guy who invented the earpiece. And he's going, not many people are buying this yet. You know what? I'll get the government to outlaw people having their phones in the car, and they'll have to buy it.
One of the most hard left people I know. She's a singer-songwriter. Her name's Dulcie, and we used to be really good friends, right? But as my politics began to move a little bit more to the right, suddenly she is really, really hard left. Mm-hmm. You know what her husband does for a living? You know where their money comes from? Their nice big house? He's a lobbyist.
He's a lobbyist.
Yeah, he's a lobbyist for the national natural gas industry. Mm. So he's a fossil fuel lobbyist.
Right.
But she doesn't mention that from the stage when she's ripping
on
capitalism.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And they also always forget when they talk about the electric grid and electric cars and so on, that most of the electric in America is fossil fuel made. So if you're charging your car at night and then driving it the next day and you feel good about it, that electricity came from fossil fuels or natural gas.
Yeah, it's like a little sign on the side of the charging station. When finished, would you go ahead and kick the generator on?
Right.
so we can recharge the charging station.
That's right. We have Shark Dentures says he wrote something which is French, and I could ask my wife to read it because she's pretty good with languages. But
you should have a guest appearance. Have her come in here and read that.
Je suis l'État. I am the state. Terrifying, and that's what Biden is saying. We are the state. And he's saying he is the state, and the Congress is the state, and we'll take care of you guys. I mean, they went for 3- and 4-year-olds are now going to be pre-K school taken care of, high quality education. He says
he wants to add 4 years. Did you guys hear that?
Right.
He wants to add 4 more years of free education, which you know what that means, don't you? Teachers' unions control.
That's right. And more indoctrination.
So that now they've been talking about they want to have 1 year of preschool. Now they want 2 years of preschool and all the way through junior college when you come out to be completely comped.
Right. Right.
You know, and then of course if they can figure out that you've got any sort of connection to any sort of race other than white, then you'll get free college anyway because there's so many scholarships. All of these universities have giant funds. What do they call those endowments? They have these giant endowments, and any person of color can get a full ride right now.
That's right.
So
Blaine S. came in and said, windmills are great if you're pumping water here in the Texas Panhandle. I think they froze up just recently at that storm.
Oh, is that what it was?
And
yeah.
I'm not sure if he's alluding to that or not. But
he's probably kidding. But it does get pretty windy through there.
Yeah.
Other times.
And the thing is, none of us are against I don't think we're really against these ideas. We're against government forcing these ideas and
Yes.
taking all of our money and spending billions of dollars trying to make it happen when we want, hey, the market will make it happen. When windmills are a good choice, when electric cars are a good choice, when you know, all these different, they have the waves that they have, the things in the waves in the ocean, all these things. If those become good choices, then they will take control. That those will be the ones we use.
Because they'll be the best deal.
That's right.
Right.
But right now they're not, and that's what I'm against.
So I am okay with a little bit of push toward those areas, but these people, they decide the thing that they like ahead of time. Like they like windmills because I think there's just, you know, we've said many times that the left runs on emotion. Everybody has, you know, they saw Heidi as a little child or something like that, and or the boy with the wooden shoes or whatever it was, you know, or you know, whatever, some little Holland guy, you know, and there's the windmill in the background, and it looks so cute, you know, but windmills are ugly. And every time I go through on the way out to Palm Springs, when I got to the desert out there,
the worst.
I've been through there.
They're never spinning.
Probably 25 times in the last couple of years. They're never turning.
There's like one in the background. There's like 400 of them, and there's like one going real slow, and then there's one flying in the background, and the rest of them are just sitting there.
I've been through there on such windy days that the van is being buffeted, you know. And there's not one of them turning. Like you say, there's one off in a corner somewhere, and it's turning, so you know there's wind.
Right.
But all these ones, they're not turning.
Yeah.
So, and they're just so ugly.
They're really ugly.
Really ugly.
And, yeah.
And solar panels are not a hell of a lot better in terms of, you know, in terms of being friendly to the environment. I mean, what's hurting the environment more? Fracking, which is going on underground. And as long as you can keep it out of the water table, which they are usually doing, you know, that idea of you turn on, you know, that old thing of Frack Nation or whatever, you turn on the spigot and you hold the thing up to it and it lights. The fire, water's on fire. No. That's what happens in wells.
Mm-hmm.
There's,
right.
You know, because the wells, there in water tables, there's a certain amount of that gas. What's that gas called that burns off?
That's a good question. Methane?
You know, you always see it.
It's methane? Is it methane?
Methane. There's always methane because there's stuff rotting under, you know, there's tree matter, and that turns into methane gas, and it traps itself in the pockets underground in underground water. And so when you tap into a well, that stuff comes up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in the water.
That's right.
You know, so it's a bogus idea. But they just attach to certain things emotionally. Like solar power, it's the sun. You know, it's
right.
The warmth of the sun.
Somebody posted something like about Bill Gates has the idea of putting particles in the air to block the sun to stop global warming, and everybody's like, "But I just bought solar panels. What are you doing?" You know, and that's a great point. Like, we can't depend on the sun if we're going to try to somehow destroy the sun's rays because we think that's what's destroying the earth. Like, there's no winning.
What's that? Do you remember the old Simpson thing where Monty Burns goes, "Since the dawn of time, man has dreamed of destroying the sun." And now Bill Gates, we could just block the sun.
Right. Jennifer Stith came in, said, windmills have been romanticized as this purely beautiful, clean, and healthy proposition, which it really isn't. Every choice has pros and cons, and that's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean they're big, they're ugly, they break down, and apparently it's really really hard to get those blades to go away once you put them down in the ground. You know they're going to stay in. I was all over the Midwest. You see these great big yards by the side of the road, and they're filled with these blades. Man, they're making a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And those things are long, man. For those, you know, they're like, I don't know, 80 feet long or something like that. These windmill blades, and they're all made out of these composition stuff that's not going to break down in the landfills for 50 million years.
So let me transition a little bit here. So Biden went on to vaccinations, was talking about he's got 220 million shots into the arms of America in the first 100 days. I said 100 million, but we did 220 million. We're so great. You guys did that too. We're so great, blah, blah, blah. Then he said, go get vaccinated. Go get vaccinated. And that was to so he says that to an mostly an empty chamber of people who are all social distancing, who all have masks on, who've all been vaccinated, right? Then he says 70% of seniors are now vaccinated and fully protected. And you go, well, why has Nancy Pelosi got that mask on, you jerk? Right? They're just so full of it. It just irks me.
Jason has a very good contradiction meter. Goes,
yeah,
beep, 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 beep.
I do
pretty
pick those
fine tuned to that.
I do pick those up pretty good. But yeah, fully protected. You guys are fully protected, but in there, no one's even half the people are not even there.
Yeah, are we or aren't we? I mean, I love it when the news came out about a month ago that it doesn't prevent you from getting the disease. It also doesn't prevent you from spreading the disease. It just makes the symptoms less dangerous. Well, but so what? So now a 25-year-old who was never going to die of it anyway is going to even more not die of it, but still won't be able to go back to work, still won't be able to go to the clubs and have some fun. You know, when it gets hot again, I'm sorry to say it, when it gets hot again, they're just going to start rioting again. They had the George Floyd riots part 2 robbed from them, but that's not going to hold.
No, not a chance.
If you don't let these kids go back and have some fun, they're going to have whatever social event is available to them, and what that is rioting. And, they said, in his speech, he said, white supremacy, sorry, I don't mean to take you off on this.
Go for it.
White supremacy is the most lethal, this is a quote, so he said that he goes, let's just admit what we've heard from our intelligence agencies, which were not named. He said, quote, the most lethal terrorism threat to the homeland today is white supremacy. Right? That's a direct quote. And so I looked it up because I know that hate groups are way, way down. So I just, on a lark, I just said, well, I wonder what the current rate of KKK is. In 2016, when Trump came into office, there were 130 groups, KKK groups in the nation. There are now 51.
And let me add something real quick.
So they've shrunk that much during Trump's years when we had literally Hitler.
Right. They told us, right.
How did they get to be the greatest threat?
Well, because they need that narrative for what's going on. But let me add something. I went through this several years ago and looked up all these groups, and it was, I don't know if it was
they're all like 4 people.
That's right. One of them was 2 people. That was a group of racists. That was a group we're supposed to worry about. 2 dudes in some hick town of about 4,000 people. These dudes are in their basement writing stuff on the internet about, F the N words, and you're going like, come on, that we're supposed to be. This is supposed to be
a terrorist group,
right? They're
That's
just
two losers,
2 loser rednecks in there that are never going to do anything about anything.
Right. Exactly. Right. And then he's trying. They're trying to work Asians into being the new victim group because there's so many Asians coming in, And they're thinking, well, we'll float this out there for a while and see if there's a victim tendency on the part of any Asians. They're trying to build them up. And so this thing came out. Let's see. So it's the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, and this is for, Joe says, quote, to protect Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. So they're tying it to COVID, which means they're tying it to Donald Trump having said China virus.
That's right.
This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to, hurt the feelings of the Asians out there, saying you're being blamed for this. So this organization came up, and it's a reporting website, and it's called the AAPI. And what that stands for is Asian American Pacific Islander, and that's what it's called. If you Google it, it's AAPI. This thing has been alive for less than 1 year, and it's a reporting thing. So all you have to do is call in and report a hate crime, and you go into a database that now says that there have been. They said that there have been 3,800 crimes, something like that. Wait a minute. Okay, I've got to figure out where I wrote this. Oh, I had it written down somewhere. But one of the things, so it has a list on the website. If you guys want to look up the website, AAPI, and you'll see what the criteria is for reporting a thing. All you have to do is leave a phone message or an email message, and that's a reported hate crime. And it shows, and then it has this list of criteria. And the first on the list of criteria is being avoided. If you feel like somebody is avoiding you, report that as a hate crime.
Mm-hmm.
It's a super low standard.
Right.
And even with that, they could only find 3,800 people who wanted to take part in it.
Well, I think the real secret about it is the hate crimes that have happened to Asians is often from black people, because they're sharing the same community in places like Oakland and LA and so on. So like just
Right.
recently, that guy in New York,
Compton, all the liquor stores are owned by Koreans.
that guy in New York, he got out of jail after he killed his mother. Got out on parole. I don't know why anybody gets out on parole after killing your mother, but that's what happens. And then he just walks up to some old Asian lady, kicks her in the stomach, and starts stomping on her head. And then it was Asian hate crimes are up. And then when the picture came out that it was a black guy, it was no longer a story, because
this one.
That doesn't fit. Right? And that's the truth is there's not a bunch of white people out there attacking Asian people. It doesn't make any sense.
The only hate crime I've ever seen against an Asian was when the guy that runs my the local Chinese restaurant around here.
Did you ignore him?
Man.
You ignored him?
Wonderful man. No, he was put out of business by the shutdowns.
That's right. We talked about it before. Yeah.
He lost his business, and I think that's a hate crime against him.
That's right.
I think he should be able to sue. Because he didn't lose any business because people were shunning him. He lost business because he wasn't allowed to open.
Because Gavin Newsom shunned him. Because Eric Garcetti shunned him.
So, I mean, this is a bunch of bullshit.
Real quick, we'll come back to this, but Cosman just wrote a real small little thing. He wrote, "Taxation is theft," winky face. And that's right. I agree.
We should call him winky face.
I'm a low tax kind of a guy. I personally think we should have one tax, whatever it is. If you want to say income tax, that's fine, but I'd rather it be a sales tax. On everything be a sales tax. Whatever you work for, you keep. If you want to put it under your mattress and save it for your kids and let them spend it, that's fine. But I think we should all make our money, we keep it until we spend it, and then we use that money, and then that's how I always thought would be the fairest and best way to do it.
Well, you are the libertarian in the family.
That's true.
I just have a little trouble buying into it because I know how lazy I am. And like I'll listen to Bill Whittle or somebody like that talking about how it's really our responsibility to run for office and also to take care of the society. And I think that sounds good, but really I don't want to be part of a whole bunch of, hey Dave, would you come out? We have to go fix the traffic lights down at the corner. We're doing a road building party between here and Lake Avenue. It's like probably not. Knowing myself, so I understand the need for some taxation.
Mm-hmm. Oh no,
I
we definitely have to. We
Yeah,
definitely have to have it because there's things like the police that we need that they don't want anymore. But
yeah.
the police,
I want them to be there.
right. So I'm okay with taxation, but it should be spent on very few things. We shouldn't be spending it. There's no reason that we had the economy we had before the shutdowns. There's no reason that we need to pass a $2 trillion jobs plan to get people to work when there were people who couldn't fill jobs, as you had mentioned
Right.
before. Mike Rowe would say there's 5 million jobs out there that can't be filled because there aren't the people who have the skill to fill them,
Right.
right? And now they're telling us, don't worry, this is going to create millions of jobs, but it doesn't make millions of people with skills to get those jobs.
Or millions of people who are willing to do those jobs once they've been getting free money from the government for a good long time.
That's
And
right.
there's all kinds of more ways. And he keeps talking, like he brought up, there was a lot of things in this speech where he just slipped little things in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little more tuned to like watching the little subtlety thing. I was missing some of the contradictions though, but he was saying this thing about we're paying too much for drugs. We need to get the price of drugs down. So we need to give Medicare the ability to bargain for the. Well, why doesn't Medicare already have the ability to bargain for the things? What he's saying is we need to all belong to Medicare so that we can get the cheaper prices that Medicare will be able to bargain for.
That's right.
That was a little slip in a little commercial for universal Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still going in that direction. And I don't know, there are arguments to be made that every country that has universal health care is not necessarily going broke. I mean, it's working all different ways.
Right.
But
Well, I have an experience with universal health care, right? Because when I was playing baseball in Europe, I hurt my elbow. So I go to a doctor. The doctor says, "There's really nothing I can do for you. I'll look at it, but that's not my expertise.
mhm,
Go to the emergency room." So I go to the emergency room. They do a really cheap X-ray on my elbow, which I knew it wasn't broken. It was something to do with throwing a baseball.
right.
It was a sports injury, right? And so they go, well, you know what? We think you're probably torn something in your elbow. We could probably get you an MRI in about 6 to 9 months.
Really?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so
So that's been the knock on it in Canada too. Why
right.
people come down here?
So
It's the
basically, what
waiting
I
room.
ended up doing was just learned how to throw a different way. After about 6 weeks, it kind of healed up a little bit, but I couldn't throw my normal way. I started having to throw like super overhand to pitch, and that was what you do, right? There was no chance for me. I even asked, "What about if I just get one out of pocket?" And they said, "No, we don't do that here."
So you couldn't even get
I
one out of
I
pocket?
couldn't even buy one at that time. Maybe it's changed in some places, but I couldn't even buy one.
Well, because you can sure get an MRI here if
That's
you're
right.
willing to
So
spend $400 or $500.
I
You can
got a
get
great
one all day
example.
long here.
I in
Yeah.
college I tore my MCL in my knee playing basketball. And I was playing college baseball at the time, and the trainer says, "Oh, you know what? That's bad. Let's get that taken care of. You need to go ahead and get an MRI." I got an MRI 2 days after I twisted my knee. I got an
Right.
MRI, and then basically surgery about 3 weeks later, and then was out for about 8 weeks, and then got back into playing,
Well,
right?
this is one of the places where I'm really pissed off at the Republicans is that this thing with Obamacare came up, and Republicans had been saying for how long, what we need to do is we need tort reform, right,
Hmm.
to protect doctors against unfair lawsuits. And we also need to be insurance companies to be able to sell insurance across state lines. They'd been talking about, and they just bring it up every time that the Democrats come up with something. What was Obama supposed to do when he gets in there? That they already had that legislation sitting there. It was already written. It was already there, and he came in and he had a wide open space. He had both houses of Congress, and he had run on that. And the Republicans just didn't do these free market fixes, and it's like we have to come up with something that actually is viable, or else we're all going to end up with Medicare for all.
Yeah.
but the Republicans don't do anything
Right.
about
Well,
this issue.
they
I'm not
couldn't
sure
do it.
why.
They couldn't do anything under Trump because they didn't have enough votes to do it.
They did for a while.
They couldn't beat the filibuster.
Well, but we've had times when we've been in charge, and that goes back decades. I've been hearing that same thing from Republicans for 30 years.
Yeah.
25, 30
well, there's
years.
no doubt.
It's just like a talking point. And then you never hear, where's the legislation? And Trump said through his whole time, he was saying, I've got a plan. Well, where is it? You know, I mean, if we want to stop, the march toward Scandinavian style socialism, we've got to come up with these fixes.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to come up with some way to do it. But we never seem to do that.
Callie Fortune said, Canada doesn't have the vaccine and will depend on the U.S. again. Tell me again how great free medical is. Now, I'm sure some people in Canada have gotten the vaccine, but I'm not 100% sure on what's going over there. I can Google that and see. But yeah, we know there are plenty of examples of prominent Canadians and prominent people from other countries who travel to America to get a procedure done, to get a certain thing done, because they can get it right away. They don't have to jump in line behind everybody. Louder with Crowder, he did that because he's Canadian, right? He went and did a thing where
I remember his thing on that,
where him and his friend went and tried to get a doctor, and they said, "Well, you guys are young guys. It's probably 3 years before you can get your doctor." They couldn't even get a doctor, like to be their regular doctor. They had to wait 3 years, and the excuse was like, "Well, you guys are young and healthy guys."
I'm always a little suspicious of Crowder, though, because Crowder he's just getting views. He tells the truth when it's convenient.
Well, but he had he had the undercover video on this one from the people in the.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that part of it, but I happen to know a fair number of people who are from Canada and they like it just fine, but they're living in America now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like they were there a long time ago. And I don't think, and so this is the thing with anecdotal things. Like you had a thing where you had something that needed to be done, and you were going to have to wait months just for your diagnosis.
That's right.
Right? But a lot of people, they grow up in Canada, and they come down here, and all they remember is, well, Mom used to take me into the doctor's office, and it never cost anything. Yeah, but you're 12 years old. You hadn't gotten to the place in life where you had some parts of your body falling apart.
That's right. You didn't have leukemia. You went there, and they looked in your tonsils and said, "Well, you look good, kid."
Well, in theory, I agree with it, but that it should be one of those things that if we're going to have police to protect us from being shot by a gun or being grabbed and beaten up, and we're going to have the military protect us from bombs blowing us up, then it seems to me like we should have some mechanism to protect all of us from disease. I mean, like right now we're getting free vaccines, and Trump was all about free vaccines. So there's this weird wiggle room there in the middle. Like if we were to turn the idea over to the military and say, okay, we're going to have a force that is now a doctor's force, and they run like the military, and they get paid $40,000 a year. And every American gets it, and we're going to be the best in the world because we're America, goddammit, rah, rah, rah. If it was something to do with that, I could understand it. But Obamacare, it grafts itself onto an existing system and built and cemented that layer of profit taking between the middle class, who doesn't get any breaks, and the po folks who get it for free.
That's right.
And then they won't let it be a cheap program. It has to be a really nice program. And those programs cost like $560, $800 a year, a month.
A month, yeah. I was going to say a year. That would be a good price.
No, excuse me, a month, and that's being paid by the middle class. On top of and they don't get subsidized, so they're paying their own anyway.
That's
so
right.
It's an absolute. It's a knee on the neck of the George Floyd of the middle class.
Wow, you're so eloquent with these words.
Joe has taught me to try to, use the term knee on the neck as often as possible.
Hey, 1 second. Hey, Ani.
More French?
Ani, come here. I want you to read something for me in French. Hey guys, I'm gonna go to the camera that's a full camera on my side here. Come here. This is my wife. She's pregnant, by the way. We got our son in here. Can you bend down a little bit? Let him see you. Can you read that up there in French?
That Jason has good swimmers. That's all I can say.
I don't know. How is the state? What says there? I am the state.
Yeah, but can you read it in French? Can you read it in
Oh,
French?
Je suis l'état. I would think.
I think that's right. Shark dentures, if that's right, let us know. But anyway, this is my lovely wife, Anna.
Hi.
And you're seeing half her face right now. You got to bend down.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, thank you,
Okay.
babe.
And the future Jason 2.0.
There you go. And yeah, exactly. She's carrying the Jason 2.0 in there. But she sounds so much better when she said it.
So
Then-
just in case you're feeling really sorry for Jason and having to work so hard, now you know why.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go out to eat after this with her and have a nice afternoon. So it's not all bad over here working hard. But Shark Dentures did come back in with, remember the 100% accurate and true saying, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Pepperidge Farms remembers.
Right. And of course it's true. I mean, so anybody that ever says free health care, no matter what country you're in,
Mm-hmm.
all they're saying is that the government is our insurer.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they're really saying. That there's no such thing as, and they always say Americans don't have health care. No, all Americans have health care. You can go into any hospital and you will get cared for, and and if you're broke enough, they'll sign you up on the spot for Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, really, they will sign you up on the spot for Medicaid.
That's right.
So every American can get. Plus, there's multiple county programs, so we already have subsidized health care at almost every level.
That's right.
But it's not really nice health care.
It's not the same as the people who are paying the expensive prices. But the thing is, they can't.
But they don't let you die in the street.
Right. The thing is, the government can't come in and make everybody have that plan that the guy who's making $300,000 a year, that Cadillac plan he has, we just can't afford the middle class to cover everybody like that. But we can afford to say, well, look, go down to the county hospital, tell them what's going on, and they'll take care of you. We can afford to do that.
And they always have in my lifetime.
That's right.
I was living up in Ventura County, and I was going through a really hard time. I had a really bad winter, and I had a thing called a frozen shoulder.
Oh,
and it was beaten up. It was really bad. So I went and so I called up the counter and I said, "Is there a program available for me?" Because somebody had told me that, and they had $10 million that had been block granted to them by the federal government, and they said, "Yeah, we got a whole thing called the ACE program, And I said, "Can I go to the hospital and use it?" And then I went in there and got a free stuff. It was the county. I didn't even have to go to the state, but I could have gone to the state.
Mm-hmm.
So there's multiple layers of things that you can get.
Right. And it's a lie. It's that narrative creation when they pretend that there's so many people who just are going without all the time. If you need something, you can get it, and you could have got it before Obamacare.
I used to have this. Maybe you saw some of those things. When I was doing the world's smartest house painter.
Yeah.
I used to do this thing where I would just like put a camera, one of those little flip cameras. I'd like stick it on a ladder, and I'd be over here like painting cabinets and stuff like that. And I would just rant for a little while, right? And one of them was called "Where Are All the Dead Mexicans?" And the idea was, if Mexicans are so poor and downtrodden, and people are dying in the streets when they can't afford health insurance, why are the streets not lined with dead Mexicans?
Right. That's a great point.
Where are all the people lying in the streets if people are dying in the streets?
Right.
I mean, because even the homeless people aren't dying in the streets.
Right.
They're sleeping in the streets.
Yeah, and
but they're not dying
occasionally,
in the
and I'm
streets.
sure they're occasionally dying in the streets, right?
Yeah,
But
no, unless they've given them a motel room to go to.
Right. Well, yeah. Here in LA, they're gonna by October everybody has to be off the street and into a hotel room, which is gonna be
Is that what they've said?
Yeah, a judge ordered it now. It's gonna be a disaster.
how do you order something like that?
It's
I mean,
because the Garcetti and they've made rules, and then there's something to do with those rules. They're trying to. Oh, someone says "Je suis le ta silent T." Okay. Let's see. I had one more thing here.
oh, the other thing is, Biden goes, let's authorize the Violence Against Women Act, which has been law for 27
For
years.
27 years. There's a contradiction I wrote down too. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Like, how do you authorize something that's already been the law for 27 years? Apparently, there's a thing in it called the boyfriend loophole.
Right.
And this is to protect women, supposedly, against their abusers owning a gun. So basically, if you've been charged with spousal abuse, you can never own a gun. Do you know how many women would immediately call up and say, because their husband had been spending way too much money on guns?
On his guns. There you go.
It's like, I mean, if they had to think about, guns are like guitars. Like, how many guitars do I have? More than I need,
You're
right?
right.
Don't tell me how many I need. I need more. Guns are the same way. They're a hobby. They're a thing of beauty and all that stuff for a gun enthusiast. But it takes a lot of money out of the family coffers. I'm sure that somebody ramping up to a divorce would say, call a guy in. Yeah, man, he beat me up. He's got guns in the house.
That's right. Well, and you got to look at the other side of it
that'll
too.
take some guns off the street.
The other side of it is there are a lot of people who are convicted felons or who are convicted gangbangers who are not supposed to have guns, and they do.
They got lots of guns.
So
they got plenty.
It's Chicago is a gun-free city, but you got all these shootings. And then when you ask somebody, hey, how come there's all these shootings in this gun-free zones? And they say, oh, well, they go to other states and buy them. I say, okay, but I heard someone say this, but why aren't the shootings happening in those states? Because the problem is not the guns. The problems are the people that are getting these guns.
You need to do a video about that one.
Yeah. Well, I can't take full credit on that. I think our friend Lauren posted somebody's comment that had that question. Well, why aren't they shooting them in Missouri? Where if they're going to Missouri to buy the guns or wherever, why aren't the shootings happening there?
Yeah, because those people belong to the NRA.
I'm
still waiting for a mass shooter that belongs to the NRA.
Right, it's
but
never going to happen. The only guy shooting at a mass shooting incident that's from the NRA is the guy shooting at the mass shooter.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So what else was in this thing, and what else was going on this week before?
I don't know what's going on this week. I haven't been writing. I didn't write anything the last couple days. I was going over this, but I will say he made the case for $15 minimum wage in this.
Yes.
Right.
Well, he didn't make the case for it.
No,
he just said we need it.
Right. He didn't. That's right. He pronounced it, and everybody clapped, and they showed a cutaway of Bernie Sanders. And Elizabeth Warren on something else, and she was giving a fist to somebody, an air fist over to the other side.
What I really hate about that particular thing is they always frame it, and he did in this speech as well. They always frame it as nobody should be working 40 hours a week and not be able to feed their children.
Mm-hmm.
So
live in
therefore,
poverty.
we raise minimum wage. Almost no full-time workers are getting paid minimum wage. It's almost zero.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very tiny bit. And when you look at the overall, employees, only like 3 or 4% of them are at minimum wage at any one time, and they pass through minimum wage into a higher wage
quite quickly.
So, right. So if you got all these people that are coming in and they're getting $7.25 an hour, well, those people are being trained a skill,
mm-hmm.
right?
That's right.
And so now they come out of that training period, and then they go to $8, $9, $10 an hour pretty soon. And if they're go-getters, they're going to be at $15 in no time flat. This is the way you're filtering the losers out from the people who work hard and catch on when you teach them how to do something. So I mean, like you're always saying, you're just going to cause people not to be hired.
That's right.
This sort of thing.
Yesterday you did the throwback video. We're going to try to start this segment. I don't know if we're doing it every Thursday,
Yeah,
But
not very many people watched it, but got a lot of love for it.
you got a lot of love, and you got I saw some comments, and they said, "Oh, I remember this one. This was the one that I said, oh, I like this guy." There's some comments like that I saw, and it's a great piece. I might have to bring back my minimum wage piece, where I make the case about a guy can collect a certain amount of cans a day and take them to a place and recycle them and make more and make enough money that's around minimum wage, when what he really needs is somebody to hire him at maybe a warehouse or something, have him do some small thing, teach him how to get on his feet, and then
Right.
he can do something. Instead, the law makes this guy's only option to just go around all day in the hot sun collecting people's dirty cans.
Right, because if and the more that we raise it up, so now instead of having 2 people at 725, they're not just raising it up a little bit; they're going to double it.
That's
So
right.
I mean, I think it's $8 or something like that, but they're roughly doubling it.
That's right.
So now, if there were 2 trainees available to be hired, now you could just hire 1,
Mm-hmm.
and the people that have been there for a year and a half and are already getting $15 an hour because they are trained employees now, they're all going to go, well, I'm not going to get paid what a trainee's going to get paid, am I? Because I can go to a better job and get paid $15 now. I'll go wherever I want now. So they're going to lose people that have already been trained, or in order to keep them after this period of training them, they're going to have to pay them $17 an hour. And then the $17 an hour employee is going to go, well, I guess I'm getting 19 now?
That's
I guess so. And pretty soon there's absolutely no money left in the profit margin. I mean, we're letting people run our country who have never gotten close to running a business.
Right. Well, and you also got to think about that guy that's making 15 an hour because he's a trained guy, he does a good job, and
Right.
they raise the minimum wage. The boss comes to him and goes, "Hey, look, they're raising the minimum wage on us. I was going to hire 3 people. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay you $20 an hour now, but I need you to do the job of one of those other people as well."
So you got to work twice as hard now.
That's right. That's what they're going to do. That's it. It only makes sense, right? And
Exactly.
I
Or
love it
these
when they always
businesses
talk
will
about
fold up.
the business owners as being, the rich or the people. They don't hire people and whatever. And you got business owners who are trying to start business. Never mind the failure rate of new businesses. Like, let's just forget about that. Let's just pretend that every business makes it. Okay.
Yeah.
But let's pretend that. But that person that starts that business is working 80, 90, 100 hours a week, and he's putting every bit of money he gets back into the business. He's making no profit for sometimes years because he's just
Sure.
trying to get it established. And then we're supposed to believe that, oh, he's mistreating some guy that's getting $8 an hour and a little bit of training and learning some skills that can eventually become, an intricate part of this person's business, and then be paid better and all those things. Instead, they say 15 an hour, and that business owner goes, well, you know what? I'm going to have to look for somebody who has some real skill that it justifies a $15 an hour wage. And that kid who was only making $8, see you later, kid. You got no chance to get a job here.
Right. And of course, the other thing that we're not mentioning that lies right beneath the surface is illegal aliens. They will come in and they will do the work for, you're going to create a jobs boom for them, because they will come in and work under the table on roofing crews and things like that, because they don't have social security numbers and they're not being traced in the same way. So more and more jobs will go to them.
That's right.
And because they're willing to work for less money.
I was
And
at a
they'll just
job
be working underneath the table, and they won't be paying taxes.
I was at a job site this morning, and I guarantee you, the two of the guys that were working there, I'm sure they were illegal aliens. They were doing like, not cement work, but like in California, you always have the side of the house now. They put the stucco. They're doing stucco work, and
Right.
I guarantee you that they're. I'm sure they were.
I think they learned how to do concrete and stucco work in kindergarten down in Mexico, because, man, those people are the best at it.
Well, I think what it is they get an opportunity up here, and they just work their butt off until they get good at it.
That's true.
I think that's what it is. You know, people pretend like they're coming here with all these skills. Like, no, they're not. They got hired on as a day laborer carrying bricks and stuff, and they put in a huge effort, worked their butt off for the guy, and the guy's like, okay, well, next we're going to try this. Can you pour concrete? He's like, oh, I can try to pour concrete. And then they work on it, and this guy gets good at it. And then before you know it, he's running a crew of illegal aliens, and he's the go-to guy for the concrete guy of this contractor.
Yeah. Yeah, my next door neighbor Miguel's like that. He just learns all the trades, you know, and now he's got all kinds of guys working for him. So, but I bet he doesn't pay them very well.
So we got another comment coming in. Fast Freddy says, federal government can't do big projects anymore. Yucca Mountain in Nevada comes to mind, built but never used. The safe site for radioactive waste from Hanford on the Columbia. Got to run. So he's out of here, Fast Freddy. Wanted to make that point. Yeah, they struggle with big projects because of all the red tape and all the connections of all the people who have to get paid, and it's.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing Joe Biden did was to cancel an infrastructure project with the pipeline.
That's right.
I mean, he did that like on day one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was infrastructure.
Right. Well, it's not the right kind of infrastructure.
It's the wrong kind of infrastructure.
You know, we were talking about earlier about the shovel-ready jobs, how we should have learned our lesson when Obama said shovel-ready, and they weren't shovel-ready. I was living near East LA, and I would have to drive the 710 south there, and there was construction before that whole thing passed, the shovel-ready jobs, the stimulus package. I can't remember what it was exactly called now, but all of a sudden there became signs on that construction site, on that highway, that were paid by, and it was talking about whichever the name of that act was, and it was the Obama one that he passed for all the jobs, but
Right.
It was already there in motion before he was elected.
Wow.
But that's how they do it.
And like the Solyndra thing, that's what Joe's talking about. That was already Green New Deal stuff. That was just funneling money into Solyndra, which apparently had this groundbreaking new kind of solar power or whatever it was. And that company folded after absorbing, what was it, $800 million?
A lot
of taxpayers' money and creating, what, half a dozen jobs?
Right. And then they go broke. But do you think that owner of Solyndra went broke, or do you think his company went under?
Oh, no, he didn't go broke.
That's right.
I'm sure
He's living
partying with Obama today.
That's right. He's on an island. So he's in Martha's Vineyard. They're on jet skis right now, having the time of their life.
Yeah, I mean, they don't think very highly of the blue collar person, but they are trying to. I mean, what was he saying?
Blue collar blueprint for jobs.
Yeah, a blue collar blueprint. Yeah, what does it say? It exactly, it says a blue collar blueprint to build America. You know, they really want the blue collar worker back, and because it's acknowledged now that blue collar workers are almost entirely Republican now.
That's right.
So he thinks he's going to get them back by talking about unions.
I thought it was also funny that he talked about his son died of cancer, which is tragic, and he said we've all had someone touched in our lives who had cancer, which is true. Cancer is terrible. Right. He said it's within our power to end it. Investment's going to do it. And it's like, you can't throw money at every problem and fix it. That's the left, and the Democrats have always thought that way. You throw more money at the school system, the inner city school is going to get better, but it doesn't.
It never does. And you know, I mean, look where the vaccines came from. They came from private industry.
That's right.
Trump didn't say, okay, we're going to have we're going to call in the government labs, we're going to have the CDC run this, and we're going to have a whole bunch of government labs come in. Nothing. It all came out of private industry. It was private industry to the rescue for that. And it's always going to be that. You know, they're going to come up with all the things that work. What were we talking about? We were talking about brain just went dead. I was noticing you and wondering what you're reading.
I'm looking.
I forgot to finish my thought.
I'm looking for a quote. Well, let's just move on because I can't remember either. I'm the tired one today, Dave. I'm the one that just worked a 12-hour shift all night long and been up for about 26 hours.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I have no excuse.
Well, you're a little older than me. Maybe we could.
I'm just not very bright. I got distracted.
So he did say that, we sent out $1,400 checks that are making all the difference in the world. And then went on to say that he never imagined in America he would see cars lined up for miles just to get a box of food. And it was through no fault of their own that they need this assistance. And I'm like, yes,
it was through the fault.
It was your
government.
fault. It was Gavin Newsom's fault. It was
this overwhelmingly huge, powerful government that did that.
It's your fault. What do you?
It is their fault.
Stop it. Like, yes, it wasn't their fault. It was your fault.
Your fault.
He
right,
never
exactly.
he never got to that part about it was his fault. And
that's a video waiting to be written, isn't it?
There you go. I mean, we had 3.5, the best unemployment rate in 50 years before the shutdowns, and then like I said earlier, he tries to take credit for the millions of jobs that have come back, and then he says that American jobs, we need to make these millions of jobs, but you just killed 20 million jobs a year ago, and they're coming back now. Stop killing the jobs and they will come back. Stop killing people's businesses and they will come back. Instead, they kill the businesses and then say, we got to help you fix the problem. It's like, no, you created the problem.
Yeah. And this has been their way all along, is that you disable people and then you pose as their savior. So that's what's happening with Black America. It's what's happening in the inner cities with these union-controlled schools. We will create the problem, and then we will promise a fix for it, because when people really have a problem, they're very vulnerable.
That's
right. And remember when Mitt Romney was running against Barack Obama in 2012, and you remember what happened there, because it looked like Mitt might possibly pull it out. I mean, the polls were pretty weak for Obama. And Romney had done really well in one of the debates, and we're thinking, hey, he's got a real chance here. And then Hurricane Sandy hit. And I remember talking to Zane on the phone. I remember calling up and go, it's all over, right, brother? And he goes, we don't have a chance, because the big government thing was suddenly needed, and it was so close to the election, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to see government comes in, Obama makes a bunch of speeches, we're sending all our resources we possibly can, we're going to get on down there, and everyone's going, okay, well, geez, I'd like to take a chance with free markets and with the Republicans, but it makes me too vulnerable. If you can make people, and everybody, not just the people that got really damaged by Hurricane Sandy, but everybody everywhere who is in the path of one of these natural disasters from time to time, they all just pulled back and thought, you know what, I'm going to stick with the guys who promised they'll come save me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, it's just human survival with fear and things like that. And so many people they made the nation fearful.
Right.
With this dumb virus. And I'm not saying that it doesn't kill people. I'm not saying it's not a serious thing. But there was no need to shut down the world's economy.
That's right.
I mean, it wasn't just us. As America goes, so goes the world.
I was listening to Red Eye Radio. That's Gary McNamara and I can't think of the other guy. But it's late night, so occasionally I turn it on when I'm at work. And they had I think it was Armstrong and Getty. Never mind. I think it was Armstrong and Getty show. But they had some polling data, and I've never been able to find it, and I'm trying to find it. But they asked Democrats and Republicans questions that had to do with how many people over the age of 70 that got the COVID-19 do you think died? And there were like 25% of Democrats or 30% of Democrats said 50% of people over 70 that got it died.
And it's like 3%, isn't it?
It's like, I think they said like almost 5%.
Yeah.
Right?
3 or 4%.
And so if you think that half of every person that gets it over the age of 70 is going to die, then it would make sense. You go like, we need to shut this place down.
Right, right.
And that's the whole thing. They get these people so fearful. It's just like what I showed the Ami Horowitz on the loose.
Yeah, in the city, thousands
of
black people, thousands
are killed by the police. It's a genocide.
in America, right?
Right? and they get that fear going because
And in 2019, when it was 29, I think it was 29 unarmed blacks were killed by police that year.
I think it was 18, but it was a low number,
Yeah.
right? But yeah,
But
so
out of hundreds of thousands of traffic stops,
right,
millions of traffic
millions,
stops. So
right?
Yeah,
And
6 or 7 million.
and so yeah, it's just that fear factor, and because have you ever been in a situation where something happens and all of a sudden there's something to be fearful of, whether you see a German Shepherd running loose at you and barking and growling, whatever it is. You got the people who ball up in a circle and just go, I hope he doesn't try to eat me. And then you got some people who go like, oh, there's a brick right there, I'm about to stop this dog from eating me. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of right, and there's a lot of people that are just balling up on the ground going, I can't do it, I'm too scared. When I did my thing in Europe, where I went for 5 years and played baseball in Europe, I come back home and I had so many people tell me, Jason, you're so brave. That's so amazing. How could you just go? And I said, how could you not take an opportunity like that? It was amazing. It was so awesome. But they were just scared to just leave their hometown and go see another place. And people are afraid, and they keep playing on that fear.
When I decided to become a drug smuggler, but it's not exactly the same.
Right. But there's probably more reason to fear being a drug smuggler than there is playing baseball in Europe.
Yeah. But morally, though, I think you had the upper hand there.
One more thing I want to bring up about the speech. He kept saying, left, right, and center, we all agree. Independents, Republicans, Democrats, we all agree. And he said, we came together, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, and passed the American Rescue Plan. But no Republicans voted for it. And if you're going to talk about bipartisanship, the only person that broke party lines was a Democrat who voted against it. So, but that's how he speaks. We all came together and we did this. Republicans and Democrats, Independents alike. And no, they did not come together. We did not say, yes, spend $2 trillion on another plan.
Yeah, there was another thing that he said, and it's in that clip that I gave you that turns out we couldn't use. But he said, oh gosh, how we had faced down the I thought I was better organized than this because I was expecting that clip to be there. So
yeah,
there's some stuff on that clip, and then we couldn't use the clip. But it was toward the end where we said we faced down authoritarianism and the panic of the pandemic or the pandemic and the pain, and we didn't flinch. He's saying all Americans, we didn't flinch. Are you kidding me? We did nothing but flinch for a friggin' year. What are those masks? What are closing the schools, closing the businesses? That's a giant flinch.
That's more.
You guys remember hearing that?
Yeah,
we didn't flinch.
That's more than a flinch.
Oh my God, we didn't flinch. We cowered, like you're saying. We rolled into a ball and put ourselves behind Mama's.
We ducked and covered, right? We
went into Mom's closet.
It was like the old days when we thought that the Soviet Union was about to drop the nuclear bomb on us, and we were under our desks at school, or there was a tornado drill or whatever it is. That's what we were doing, and as if we were going to survive the nuclear blast under our desk.
It was a national festival of fear that went on for one solid year, and in my town is still going on.
Yeah, I see it all the time. I saw a guy riding his bike the other day. Get this. He's riding his bike. He's got his mask on. He's smoking a cigarette. So he's riding his bike, and then he pulls his mask down, takes a puff of his cigarette, puts his mask back up, and keeps driving. And I just said, are you kidding me? This guy, I almost felt like I want him to get COVID-19. Like, this is the people. I hope he doesn't get the vaccine. No. In all seriousness.
Oh, now I remember what I wanted to say earlier. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's in my mind.
It's
in my mind.
In all seriousness,
finish your point.
We got a lot of people who are so stupid that they're following things that make absolutely no sense. And, you know, there's a picture that's been going around on Facebook for a while now, and it's a guy on a motorcycle. He has no helmet on and he's wearing a mask. And it's like, yeah, you're gonna get the COVID-19 driving 55 miles an hour on the highway on your motorcycle, but you're not gonna die from a head injury when you wipe out.
Right, right. But this goes back to talking about cancer earlier. How many people are dying of cancer every year? How does Joe Biden think that all of the medical industry, the same people that brought us in the course of 1 year 4 different vaccines, does he really think that just by throwing government money at some people, you're going to finally do what everybody has been trying to capitalize on? I mean, everybody wants to cure cancer.
That's right.
And look at how much they have. I mean, my sister Kate, she had esophageal cancer. That was pretty much a death sentence 10 years ago.
A buddy of mine died from it.
Right. And my friend Jackie, you know, that I went through the stage 4 throat cancer thing with her, and they're both going to make it. You know, because we do have many cures for cancer. It's not perfect, but you know, cancers are hundreds of different cancers,
right?
And they all have their own way of going, and they're all being taken care of bit by bit by the free market.
Yeah, my brother has leukemia. My older brother has leukemia, and he takes medicine, and
he's living with it, right?
Yeah, he doesn't make him feel well, but he still plays golf, he still works, he does all the stuff. He's a little older than me, but he asked the doctor, like, what's my what do you think, you know, how long I got? And he said, well, you're gonna die from something other than leukemia.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna die of old age if you don't die of diabetes or whatever else you're gonna get from your lifestyle, which he's not that fat or anything, but I hope he doesn't watch this channel now.
Oh, that would be a bummer.
Hey, real quick, I got Erica Watkins.
Really pretty eyes, though.
Yeah, I know. He still got a full head of hair, so I'm jealous. Erica Watkins came in and said Governor Whitmer is working hard at pushing the fear daily, and she is. She the governor of Michigan. She came in and said, you know, toddlers need to be wearing the masks now.
Right.
And it's like, come on. Oh, I thought of this on the way here. I was driving by a school today. So some of the schools are back in. The school in my neighborhood is back in. And the students have to wear masks at school, right? But all these kids were walking home, all the masks under their chin. They're all hanging on each other, wrestling. They're so happy to be back together. They're all having a big time, right? So now all those kids are going home to their families, to their parents, and so on. Like it's a joke to think that they're in school, you know, social distancing and wearing a mask, and they're protecting each other. They're kids, man. They're going to do their thing.
But this is the takeaway. You know what Erica's talking about. How you doing, Erica? That they're just going to keep doubling down on this. They want black people to be afraid of white people. They want women to be afraid of men. Mm-hmm. They want both parties to be afraid of one another. They want this constant fear, and because they're running the media that pushes us toward the clicks to doing if you click on something that says, oh, find out how this will kill you, click, and then you'll get like 20 more opportunities to see stuff that'll kill you. And generally, they want us to be frightened and then to posit themselves as the solution to our problem.
That's
right.
And
it's not entirely true that the Republicans haven't caught on to this either.
No,
you know,
there's a definite problem with the two-party system.
I mean, and you know, it's in right-wing media as well. You know, you're going to see like, you know, the next day after the speech, right? You see, here's Ben Shapiro. You know, Ben Shapiro destroys Biden's speech. You know what I mean? Wow, I want to see destruction of Joe Biden's speech. They want us to live by our emotions, either by anger or by fear or whatever happens to be selling at the time.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of that, and in the defense of CNN, Fox, Ben Shapiro, whoever, it sells.
It is sales,
right? And that's the thing. Fear sells. I said it in that last video. Fear sells, and if we can make everybody fearful, then you know it's like you're watching the news. I heard Ellen DeGeneres say this once. You know, she'd be like, "You'll be sitting at home watching the news, and you'll be having dinner, and the news person will say, what you might be eating tonight for dinner that might be killing you." coming
Yes.
coming at 11 o'clock tonight. And, you know,
Well, this-
she's like, I guess I'm not going to eat my dinner now because I want to know what this is. It's going to be killing me, you know?
Well, it's so great that you say this, because this morning, while I was waiting for you to get finished at work, I was working on a piece that I've been trying to puzzle out why it is that the super capitalists of Silicon Valley keep going with the Democrats. And then it occurred to me, fear stimulates sales. Depression stimulates sales. If you feel like you're not good enough, the world isn't it, you know that you're alienated, you're lost. The world keeps changing around you real fast. You don't even know how to talk to people anymore without being accused of being a racist or some kind of you're not keeping up with the gender pronouns or whatever. You're off balance all the time, and the Democrats keep us off balance. Well, what do you do when you feel off balance and weirded out? You buy something. You think, I have to, because buying something is just the triggered gathering of resources. It'll be like, oh my God, there's a storm coming. Let's get some firewood in. Oh my God, there's craziness coming in my life. I don't know what to do. I got plenty of firewood, but I better get some resources. So you buy more stuff. You fill your gun basement full of food, whatever you buy, all kinds of, whatever it is that you're buying on Amazon. Because I know when I was locked down, I bought more stuff from Amazon out of emotional need than I've ever bought anything in my whole life. I got 8 or 10 things around here that I was just buying to make myself feel better because I was isolated and freaked out from losing my whole world.
Right. And, and I feel bad. You did lose your whole world. I didn't. Right. I didn't have a lot of friends to hang out with for a while. But I have my family here. I was working every day. I was still going to see my buddies at work. I talked to them. I still had something going on that was different from a situation you're in where you live alone. You were really super isolated. And I remember one time you said, you like called me, or you said, hey, you want to talk for a second? You said, I just got to talk because like I'm just thinking too much about whatever it was. Like I'm racking my brain here.
Yeah, nobody to talk
almost
to.
becoming paranoid or something about what I'm thinking about because all I got is me here. I can't even bounce something off somebody.
Well, I think what I said to you, and I think I called you more than once about that, was that I was losing perspective.
Right.
Because I wasn't bouncing things off organically. And it happens all the time when we're just out in the world and we're just talking to people, and we just we're hearing their ideas, we're hearing our own ideas bouncing off theirs and going, oh, well, that wasn't as smart as I thought. I'm going to modify this a little bit. And we just get a better sense of perspective when we're interacting. And man, they took everybody's ability to have perspective away from them.
That's
you
right.
couldn't even visit your grandparents. The grandparents couldn't hold their grandkids on their laps anymore. All of that stuff is the stuff that makes society work, all that interaction. Mm-hmm. And they took that all away from us, and then they sold us Joe Biden to fix it for us.
Joe Biden said last night, like you said earlier, he said, that the everybody's fully protected now. He said no longer does your granddaughter have to touch a glass and the grandpa on the other side touch the other glass to say hello. They can hug each other now. And that just flies in the face of all the stuff that you just see. They're masked up. They're socially
They're not
distanced.
hugging each other.
Well, they are. People are doing that, but it's not because they want them to do that. They want them to still be fearful. That's why they're still pushing the masks. That's why they're still pushing the social distancing and so on, right?
And let's give, it would be nice if they would just once in a while say, and it was Donald Trump's interaction with these big drug companies that got us this record vaccine. They got us these 4 vaccines in an amazingly short period of time. They cannot bring themselves to credit him with even one thing. Joe Biden thinks of himself as the vaccine president.
Well, when it started, you remember when he said he put this plan into place to warp speed to get these vaccines, and all the people on the Democrats and left's like, I wouldn't take a vaccine that Donald Trump was who got it going. You think you could trust that? Then
Now
around
they love it.
around Biden gets elected, it's like, how dare you not take the vaccine? You should not be allowed to have medical care if you get it.
And most of my Republican friends, the super Trumpers, they don't want the vaccine. It's like they would have loved that vaccine if Trump was in the office right now, because Trump has said multiple times, take the vaccine.
No, he still says it.
He says it. He said it multiple times.
But have you taken it?
No,
I haven't taken it.
I haven't. I tried to get it before I went to Oregon, and you have to go through the website, and you have to go through this. And I went to the Rite Aid website. They told me you got to go to the website, and I went on there and I went to the page looking for vaccines, and all I saw was flu vaccines. And I went through the website, I couldn't find it, so I don't know how I'm going to do it.
Like, I'm not worried. I mean, everybody's eligible now. I had it in January.
But the point I was making is that people, they are so. They're so divided and they're so paired off that it's a great idea if your guy tells you to do it. But now that your guy's out, you're going to ignore your guy telling you to do it because now the other guy's also telling you to do it, and he's in power.
And he's the guy that's getting the credit. He's the guy that's getting the credit for it. We don't want to give him the credit for everybody being okay. Right.
You know, and there's all this stuff that's they're not real vaccines. It was Trump's warp speed that they came from. So I mean, we don't trust Trump either? Well, we do, but you know.
So we got another comment here from Just Me or Maybe Not. That's his name. He said, I think I'll get a Biden job and pick up all those piles of infrastructure at the dog park. So that's his way of.
By the way, I think it is just him. Just me.
Yeah, it probably is him. Just me.
Or just her.
Or maybe not. Maybe it is just them.
We didn't hear from JC. From
yeah, maybe she works on Fridays. I hope she's doing well because she's a regular here, and also Imando.
Yeah, no.
So those guys, we love you guys, and obviously anybody who came in on a super chat today, we appreciate it.
Probably what happens when you show up on the wrong day, at the wrong time.
Well, somebody did write, not a super chat, but they said something like, great job, guys, in the middle of a work day in the work week. You're going to have a big audience or whatever. It's like, yeah, I can't work. I have to work tomorrow. I couldn't do it tomorrow. And so today is what we got. And the good thing is these are recorded. If anybody who does want to watch them, they always come in and watch them. You know, a few thousand people come in afterwards and watch them. But
we better let you get on with your day there,
brother. I know. I'm so hungry right now. I've eaten a snack bar in the last 10 hours and I'm starving.
And now that I've been able to talk to another human being, I'll go roll up like a dog that's been chasing the Frisbee all morning. Content. I can nap now.
Now you can go right? Because it does stimulate the thinking. Which we really like. But I'm going to leave you with this one comment I got on my last video. And you know, everybody puts LOL at a comment when they think it's funny, but you don't really laugh out loud. Most of the time they put that, right? But this one had me laughing so hard. And I was reading all these comments.
You literally LOL'd.
I really did. It was so, I was getting all these great comments and the comments, you know, were, this is the best piece you've ever done. Boy, I wish everybody would watch this one and all these things. This should be mandatory viewing. And this one guy was like, Jason, have you ever considered wearing a hairpiece?
You have got to get a cheap toupee.
Oh, that made me laugh so hard. And then I just wrote back, oh, thank you, man. I really did laugh out loud. By the way, I'm okay. I'm okay with being bald. But no, that was funny.
Well, we should make that a regular. We should have like the comment of the week or something like that for each of us when we do one of these things.
Oh, that would be a good idea.
That was a good laugh.
Some of them could be a real interesting comment, and some of them could be.
By the way, for those of you for Jason will probably do the next Throwback Thursday, and some of his you'll notice that when we started this, he had considerably more hair than he has now.
Oh no! Don't tell him.
Yeah.
It's going fast, man. It's going fast. And you'll also notice that my pieces were really short when we started. I was doing them
Like a minute long or something, you know.
There
It's
was
like,
one of them, I swear, I think it was like 48 seconds or something.
how
And
in
then,
the world did we make? We started the thing with me with 2-minute warning. That was our plan, to do like 2-minute long videos. And
yeah,
the famous comment that came in every video was, "That was a lot more than 2 minutes."
yeah, you're right. You could never stay within the 2 minutes. I was always
No,
trying to make.
yeah, but the last one that I published, that I got a lot of love for, you know, that I just
Yeah.
republished. That's like 3 minutes and 2 seconds or something like that, and I got everything said. What's
Right.
wrong with me now?
Well, I mean, it's, as you know, we've talked about this before. When you're writing something and you make a point and then you say, because of this, you feel like you have to go like, oh yeah, I need to explain this now. And then in the
Right.
middle of explaining that, you go, oh, I just used this term. Let me explain why they use that term. And before you know it, you're just,
You're in the weeds.
all over
Oh.
the place. And you go, they don't need to know that. But I was really good at doing straight to the point, making my point, and that's the one point I would make. But some of them fell really flat because they're just like, what? That was it? Like that could have been a meme. Like you didn't need to actually do a video on that. You could have just did a picture and wrote the statement.
Well, we were figuring it out, and I think we got pretty good at it. Now the question is, hopefully, we'll start getting some subscribers again. So if you guys are out there, and this would be a really good time to shout us around a little bit. We don't normally like to beg for help, but this would be a good time if ever you wanted to shout us around to your friends.
Yeah, definitely. Always, especially if we make a point, like my last video, I thought I made a really interesting point, especially at the end of that video, and a lot of people commented on it.
That was just a great video.
There's if you guys want to share that with somebody, share it. Let them know what you think about it. Give them a heads up. Say, hey guys, take a listen at this. I'd like for you guys to take a listen at this. This guy really lays it out, and he's a good guy, or what whatever you can do to get some people that are in the middle, that are are good people that are not these crazy leftists, and let them have a shot at listening to something, and let that start some dialogue. And
well, yeah, I mean, so many people have written to me, and these are liberal people, and they say to me, "Hey, man, I don't agree with everything you say, but I'm listening," and that's all we can ask. But also, over time, especially I notice this on Facebook, because when we post things on Facebook, we post them there, and they're just links now, so it's not a real thing for us. But we do still put the videos over there, and we'll sometimes say, "Oh, this one got 40 shares," right? And you can click on that, and then you can see the shares. And almost without exception, people just drop the video on their timeline somewhere and don't give a comment. Like Jason was just saying, hey, give these guys a listen. This is some of the stuff we've talked about. Or here's a take on it. I know my friends won't necessarily agree, but it's it's food for thought.
yeah,
Put something, if you are going to share our videos on your timeline, say something with it. Don't just drop it there.
it'll definitely
I
think it'll definitely have a better chance, especially if these
You
people
don't have to commit to it.
if these people are your friends.
Right.
Right. It'll have a better chance if you're asking them, hey, check out this video. And don't get me wrong, if you do share videos without saying anything, we still appreciate you sharing them. But we talked about this privately, me and Dave. There's some type of people like the fear mongers on both sides, or the people who are, as you said, at the WrestleMania types that are out there and that are doing what we're doing on YouTube, and they're really getting the views, a lot more views, because they're going like, I stuck it to that guy, and so on, right? And we're trying to stay.
But that doesn't ever change a mind.
That's right, but it gets a lot of views. And if we were doing this about, if me and you were doing this about money, we would make those videos all the time, because a lot of them are easier to make too, because we don't have to do an in-depth thing about why things are working a certain way and so on. We can just go like, this guy sucks. Have you seen this guy? Watch this clip. He's a mother effer. And then yeah.
Well,
right?
we saw how Brandon Tatum just went through the roof. And I'm not attacking him personally, but he saw an opening and goes,
Yeah.
I'm a black guy. I'm a conservative. And
Right.
apparently this is how it's done.
Right. And he
You know?
does.
And
right.
he knows that a lot of white people go, well, I want to hear a black guy saying this.
Sure.
And so they'll go over there, and so he had an advantage to begin with, but he always goes for just swings for the fences, and it's not subtle, and there's no nuance. And the thing is, you're not going to ever be able to share a Brandon Tatum video with somebody. I haven't seen that many of them. I shouldn't single him out.
Right.
But let's just say a flame throwing type of video. And I have been very careful to try to make videos that are compelling, that do criticize the other side, but I'm not singling out individual Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or I'm not singling out Democrats as a mass. I am singling out individual Democrats, or those few that are in government or in media. So someone can listen to that stuff and not necessarily take it as a personal affront to them. And so we try to write that way so that these can be used as a resource to change minds, because that's the only way we win in the future is we take their votes away.
Right.
We bleed them slowly of their votes.
And a great example is Prager University. They're a great example. They're really doing a great job of not flame throwing, of explaining issues and so on. And we're doing that. But we're kind of I feel like I'm in between Prager and a Ben Shapiro or one of these guys that do a little more flame throwing, and Ben is still he gets in there and does a lot of stuff that's in the middle as well.
He's very kind-hearted when he sits down and talks to somebody, with those little lights in the background.
That's right.
Yeah, he's get face to face with somebody. I think Ben has become much more mild-mannered.
And he's written like 13 books. He's only like 37 years old or something. So he's a smart guy, man.
Oh,
but we got a couple more
cells.
comments here. 44 Willie's MB wrote, "No such thing as a bad time for blue collar logic." So that was after this comment about the Friday, and then Shark Dentures came back, said, "Want more views? Wear an 80s hairband wig." Yeah, that's my next video. I'll have to get some cheap wig and a tie-dyed shirt and go for it.
You should go down to the discount wig emporium and buy like 20 like gag
just a different one every time,
and just put them on your thumbnail. That's what Scott Adams does, because his thumbnail, it's always just him sitting there, right? So he starts making faces a couple months ago, and now it's like, whatever you can think of,
That's funny.
And I click on it because it works.
It works for you, huh?
It works for me.
All right,
Scott
guys. Well, I guess we're winding it up. Check out the links in the description if you want to buy a T-shirt or a coffee mug or any of that kind of stuff. If you want to support us at Giving Fuel, don't hesitate. Obviously, we realize times are tough. But I think
Jason's having images of the food bill about to.
Man, I'm so hungry.
Yeah, you better get out of here, man.
Yeah, I gotta go. Anyway, guys, we love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll do this again, maybe in a week or two, and we'll try to let you guys know ahead of time so you know it can be here. Maybe we'll try to choose a time where you're not at work.
That would be good.
All right, guys, we're signing